Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this session of Meet the Team with the EduSpots team who are working on digitalization in different ways. So if you've just joined the session, we are currently just saying which location we are joining from, and we're posting one thing that makes us really excited about digitalization, digital skills, digital tools, any aspect of digitalization. So I'm just reading some of them out. So Zainab is calling from Wa in the upper east region of Ghana, where I've just visited, and she says it helps in creativity and access to information. Great. Rachel is joining from Nairobi in Kenya. You can quickly see what an amazing online connected network we are, and she's one of our interns, and she is excited about the flexibility in learning that digitalization offers. I definitely agree with that in terms of the access it provides, the different learning tools it gives to meet different needs. And who else do we have? We have Norga from Tamale, from Saka Spots, who says digitalization makes our works and learning easier, which is something that Wadood is also saying. Who else have we got? We have Solomon calling from a comfy spot, and he says that digitalization has made interaction with others very easy in terms of location. So I think this is something that's quite unique to EduSpots in some ways, that we have over 400 catalysts joining from 50 different communities in Ghana, supported by quite a wide team in Ghana and more internationally. And we're all calling in from different locations, but due to the amazing digital tools that we have and the platforms and approaches we've created, we're very well adapted to online working in different ways. And I think we could have included a whole nother aspect of our session on how we work in an online working environment. But today we're going to be focusing more on the digitalization work that we're in the process of and that we've already done in terms of the Catalyst network and the impact on learners. Final comment from Daniel, who says digitalization makes learning accessible. Brilliant. Great. So we're going to dive into the session. Thank you, everyone, once again for joining. And before I start, I just want to say we want to make this as highly interactive as possible, which I can see this group are already following by your brilliant interaction so far. So this event is a Meet the Team event, one of several events that we're putting on to enable you to quiz our staff members and Catalysts directly about the strategy, the thinking, and the impact of our work. So before we dive into a little bit more detail about our digitalization work, it's important to do some introductions. So firstly, I'm excited that we have Kennedy with us. Kennedy, a little bit about yourself and your role and your link to the digitalization process.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kennedy. I lead operations at EduSpots. And for digitization, I am in charge of the device procurement and configuration, and then distribution to spots.
Great. And I'm going to put you on the spot, Kennedy, and ask you a bit more of a probing question. I know you're someone that gets very excited about digital tools. Can you tell us why?
I think I like devices generally, but in the sense of our work, for context, I have a 5-year-old, and I get fascinated with how they are able to play around the computer and even the tablets and do things that I never imagined at my age I could do. So that's what gets me excited, that the same way I am trying to pilot it in my home, I'm excited to get it to other communities where learners like my child are able to sort of like use it and benefit from it.
Brilliant. I love all the learning that happens with our own kids and families in different ways. Moving on next to Isaac, who is our digital and literacy skills coordinator. Isaac, a little bit about you and your role.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Isaac Kobe. I'm the literacy and digital skills coordinator at EduSpots. Basically, I work with the digital learning. So my role is kind of self-explanatory.
And also going to just push you a little bit further. I know you're someone who gets very excited about different digital learning and the sort of wider functions that the digital world brings us. Tell us a little more about your interests in digital tools.
Yeah, so for me, I believe that digital is not the new big thing like we all make it look like. I feel like it is a now big thing. It is here, and we need to get our learners to be acquainted with it, because I also believe that it is a foundation of our educational system now, looking at where the world is going to. So it's important that our learners get to know how to use these digital tools. Thank you.
So we quickly realized as we began to think about rolling out digital tools that we needed somebody in-house to lead a digital learning strategy. So Isaac joined the team in May to really lead and champion an integrated digital learning strategy across the network, alongside combining this with our literacy program that going forward is being called DigiLit, which Isaac will tell us a little bit more as we move on. We also have with us another very exciting individual, Adam from EduSpots. Adam, do you want to introduce yourself and say a bit about how you've used digital tools? Adam, are you with us?
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, good afternoon. This is Adam, a Catalyst from EduSpots.
Brilliant. And I can hear the spot in the background, I think.
Seriously, I'm still in school, so the students are still in. So I've been trying to see wherever I can see them to avoid the noise, but try all connect. I'm not getting the chance.
That's great, Adam. Don't worry, we'll come back to you. Oh, we can see you now. Great. So I love this, live in a learning environment. So sometimes when we do these online talks and everyone is sitting in non-education environments, it's easy for us to have quiet backgrounds, but Adam is talking to us straight from EduSpots. Adam, what gets you excited about technology?
Wow. Technology. To be fair, the moment I always hear technology, what comes next is excitement. In a sense that wherever technology is put forward, you will see that students, the next thing you will see is students will be excited.
Mm-hmm.
In a sense that down here, students face a lot of challenges when it comes to devices. You can imagine a teacher teaching a computing class without a single computer in the classroom. There have also been instances where a teacher will give students a homework. They might not have a place to go make research. But with the presence of technology, it's like this thing is becoming a thing of the past. Currently, at several spots here, I remember recently when we came for the Catalyst program, we were being provided with digital devices, which now closes the gap faster than ever.
I'm going to come back to you for a bit more detail a bit later, so that Kennedy explains a bit of the background, and then we'll come back to you to learn more about the impact of those devices. Thank you so much, Adam. We'll be coming back to you shortly.
You're welcome. Welcome.
Great. So the last member of the team to introduce is myself. I'm Kat, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of EduSpots, or otherwise known as, sometimes call myself the Chief Dreamer of the organization. I blame myself for some of the over-ambitious plans that we have in terms of digitalization and other things. And I've been involved with EduSpots for over nearly 10 years, coming up to our 10-year anniversary next year, which is going to be something very exciting that we'll talk further about shortly. So to give a bit of background about EduSpots, I think most people who are joining us today know all about EduSpots. So you can give us feedback on whether we reflect your work in the way that you'd like our work to be represented. But EduSpots' ultimate vision is of a world in which communities unite to create the sustainable futures that they want to see. So right at the heart of our education in all sorts of different ways is the idea of bringing community teams together who themselves opt into our network. We have a process by which teams apply to join the EduSpots network, which we think is really key to communities leading right from the start of them joining our work. And in different ways, we involve them in educational initiatives that enable them, both in terms of the catalysts and the learners, in developing a certain skill set that we believe will give them the skills they need to create that future they want to see. So we've recently mapped out our educational vision and come up with our own EduSpots learner profile, where we identified the core skills that we as a network, and we engage with Catalyst and staff and other advisors on this. And we thought that the key aim of our model as a whole is to develop future-orientated active citizens, and that the kind of skills that would contribute to this are being team players, being caring, being creators, being communicators, being problem solvers, being digitally skilled, and being lifelong learners. And so through our training programs in different ways, we look to develop all of these skills, which are also completely in line with the government's national education agenda in Ghana. To give a bit more detail on our model, so we basically bring teams together to set up education spaces that are physical spaces called spots. And we have a network now of 50 spots across, I think, 12 to 13 regions of Ghana. And key to our spot model are 3 elements. So the first element is a certain approach to spot leadership. So we run a range of leadership programs that enable Catalyst to develop skills in community engagement, team building, sort of systems in terms of financial and resource management, environmental sustainability, communication, fundraising, project design, and digital tools, which you can see is one of the main focus that we have for today. And in all these skill developments, we apply the thinking through our actual spot model and how it develops. So it's not just about sort of dry presentations on all these things. The Catalysts actually run projects related to the spot in terms of all of those areas. The second element is keeping spots safe, which is a form of safeguarding and protection education. Of course, we want to make sure that every single learner of any age is safe in our spots, but we also have extensive education strategy with learners, with Catalysts, and with community engagement more widely to reflect on the rights and responsibility of learners and Catalysts in different ways. And then the last element is the educational equity, and we run strands across early years called EduKids, DigiLit, which is digital literacy and digital skills and literacy for upper primary next year, EcoSTEM, which is STEM and environmental education, and Ignite Equity, which is a gender-based empowerment program. And we also promote communities to lead their own community-led and designed activities. And in all of these different strands of education, those educational principles of modeling practical, play-based, and community-connected education is reinforced with the idea that this will spread a certain type of pedagogy into schools and communities more widely. And I'm sure if you go onto our website, you will learn much more about our model, but this gives you a sense of the geographical spread of our work across many regions in Ghana. As I said at the start, spots apply to join our network from any location in Ghana. And we're currently just inducting a new set of 12 spots in the next month, which is very exciting. So the starting point, I think, always needs to come to the need. And Adam has already clearly pointed to the need in Sevelagu that I'm sure he'll speak to more later, that so many IT sessions. I was in Sevelagu last week, and there was an IT session ongoing where I think they were learning about microchips, but it was all just based on the board with no physical inaction of what was happening in any form. And I think every IT teacher in the world must be calling out to be able to support their students with devices to support that learning process. So on a survey we did in 2023 across the network, 50% of Catalysts in the network indicated that their learners had no access to any digital device in the school or the spot context. And this was something that came from them as one of the core things that they wanted us to try to support them in addressing. In EduSpots, we always have a community-led approach in that we do try to support spots in raising their own funds or doing their own applications independently to get digital devices. But given the scale of this problem and the difficulties in getting technological equipment, we decided to have a strategy sort of centrally to try to support this rollout. And I think a quotation or statistic that really stood with me came from Gertrude, who you can see in the top left, who, if we had time, we'd call her here to tell us a bit more about this herself. I think she's reflected on this in a previous Meet the Team session. And she said that when she led a STEM camp in Dulagu, 2 out of 20 students, these were girls attending an EduSpots STEM camp in Dulagu and Bolgatanga, knew how to turn on a computer. And I think that's just such a powerful statistic of the sort of lack of digital literacy and basic use of devices that exists in the type of the community that we work with. Obviously, by the end of Gertrude's STEM camp, they were 100% knowing exactly how to turn on a computer and use it in different ways. So we didn't want to jump into this challenging field without thinking it through. And we knew that we had to think very carefully about our context, what would work in the communities, what would be sustainable, and having a holistic approach that looked at digital skills, technology, and infrastructure from different angles. You can see this is one of the tablets being used in one of the spot communities. So we saw that there were three clear elements to the digital vision that we needed to work on. Firstly was the infrastructure that Kennedy is going to speak more about. So we are quite a low budget organization. We don't have a huge amount of funding to dedicate to this and had to apply for funding from various people. So we knew we needed, given the scale of our work across 50 communities, a low cost but effective and sustainable strategy to provide catalysts and learners with some of the needed equipment to meet our educational and operational aims. And we knew we would have to start small with the scale of 50 spots, and that an ambition of every spot having an IT center was probably quite a long way away for now, though we can always dream of the future. The second element is the digital learning, which Isaac is going to go into a lot more detail on. And we want to, again, build an integrated strategy to build a digitally literate organization where staff and communities, learners and catalysts can use technology to improve skills and systems and create learning opportunities. So the way we've try to do this is embedding through all our work alongside providing some specific sessions for digital skills learning. And then the last aspect, which I'll come to last, is the decision to create an app as a solution to some of the organizational challenges we are facing and to enable our catalysts to come together with a sort of tech-enabled solution to become an even more connected network. And in all of this, we centered the Catalyst. So we've had a digital working group among the Catalysts who are part of the Catalyst leadership program, the Catalyze leadership program, and they've been key to informing Kennedy as we move forward. And Isaac has also had a digital skills working group that he's sought feedback from continuously. So in terms of some of the people behind funding our work, it would be wrong to talk about our digital work without mentioning the amazing Wanderlust Ghana team who drove from Accra to London 10,000 kilometers to raise funds for our drive for digitalization in EduSpots. And as ever, I want to say a huge thank you to them for their amazing achievement in raising $20,000 to support this work in EduSpots. And they even appeared on BBC News, which was great publicity for EduSpots work as well. And we were excited to be able to extend that work further by a donation of £20,000 from the Fonthill Foundation, who read about our digitalization strategy and saw its need to achieve many of our wider network aims. This is a picture of Sita, who's the CEO, and Maggie, one of the trustees, visiting Ghana just last week. They've just gone home and they were very excited at everything they saw in the network. So in March, in April, we launched our digital strategy with some amazing guests such as Elsie Kaufman and the Director of Strategy and Innovation at the Ministry of Education that Kennedy will touch on further, which put a certain exciting feel behind our strategy. And it is at this point that it's appropriate to hand over to the man himself, Kennedy, our head of operations, and also say a huge thank you to him for all the work he's done. Just to say before I hand over to Kennedy, if you've got any questions, please start putting them in the chat. Kennedy will be taking some questions after his session, but if you've got any questions or comments, let's make this interactive. Do drop them into the chat. Kennedy, handing the baton over to you.
Thank you so much, Kat. Hi, everyone again. So thanks to our funders and all the input we received from our over 50 communities that we work with. We have been able to, this year, 2024, was not the first year that EduSpot has actually attempted or made strides in making sure that digital tools is at the heart of what we do, and that communities, as much as possible, integrate digital tools in the catalyst and learner engagement. But so that essentially what I'm saying is that before 2024, efforts were made to provide, computers, projectors, and so on and so forth to spot. But this data that you see on your screen is in relation to what we have done in just 2024, starting from the month of April, when the digital launch took place in April. We have provided so far 66 tablets to about 32 spots in the network. And that means that 33 spots in the network, that meant that each spot that was equipped or resourced had 2 tablets each. That's notwithstanding, we realized that the tablet alone will not do justice to the scale of the usage of the digital tool. So what we have provided in addition is to supply Wi-Fi kits. I will talk about that in a bit. So Wi-Fi kits, one for each spot for the 33 or 32 spot that received them. And then in that launch, we also provided 4 projectors and then a laptop for the Elmina spots. Yes. Now, in terms of support and for the digital tools, each of the tablets, I'll talk about the specifications in a bit, but each of the tablets, for instance, is costing us about 200 and the tablet is costing us about £150, which is about 3,000 cedis. We have the projector costing about £225, about 4,500. We have the Wi-Fi kit costing us about £27.5 or 550 cedis on average. And then we have a laptop costing us about £425. So just to give you a sense of how much each of these devices. So you see them nicely in the shots when they were distributed to spots that had representation in Catalyst. But in terms of how much each of that cost us, that is where we stand. And so on your screen, you will see the spots that benefited. They attended Catalyst and therefore Catalyst leadership program, and therefore they benefited from the Northern Cluster, Dudugu, all the way to Zangbalun, and then to Volta, Postmonu, all the way to Odome Akachi. And then Central Western, we had Ampatano all the way to Funko. And then Middle Region, we had Akomadan all the way to Banda. So these are the beneficiaries. In terms of the specifications for the tablet, we have a screen of 10.1 inches. We have a storage of 64 gig. We have a RAM of 4 gig. And then all our tablets are Android-based. So they are on the Android OS or operating system. In terms of configuration, like each tablet that we send out, we make sure that we have factored in concerns about usage, the age category, learners, Catalyst, being able to use it for educational purposes only. So we don't just buy the tablet and ship them to communities. What we do is, aside from checking to ensure that the specification meets the requirement for learning, at the spot, we also make sure that there is what we call online safety, device safety, to ensure that the purposes for which the tablets are supplied will be the main focus for the usage of the tablet in these spots. So before we give each or any tablet to a spot, we are conscious of 4 main things. Security-wise, we are conscious of the usage in terms of age. So you may not know, but whenever you have received an EduSpot tablet, what we do is to restrict some of the app are what we call adult app. And so we make sure that we restrict the age to ensure that, I won't tell you the age restriction, but to ensure that only the apps that pop up are related to education or learning in general, so that you may not know, but whenever you go to the app store to install, the pop-up or the preferences for the apps that will come will be education oriented. The other thing that we have also done is to ensure that only app with wider usage, like higher rating. So we restrict that only app with higher rating or general acceptability can be mounted or installed on these devices. And then the third thing we do is that we make sure that the tablets or the devices are robust enough so that they are not susceptible to being damaged. And so each tablet comes with a case or what we call a cover. It has a screen protector, and then the Wi-Fi, which is the separate gadget we provided for internet connectivity. We made sure that, and thanks to Gertrude, we did whitelisting, which is only specific websites you can visit. So there are some website, if you attempt using the tablet to access it, it's not going to work because we have just restricted the extent of usage of the tablets online. And then in terms of apps, before we shipped each tablet, we made sure that they went out with certain basic app that is common to all the spot. The first one principally, which we will talk about down the road, will be the EduSpot app. But also we saw how useful it will be to have learners and Catalyst having access to wider books and resources. And so we pre-installed the Booksmart app, which is by World Reader. And then we have the African Storybooks Reader app also there. And then we also made sure that sports have access to, daily communication tools like Zoom, Google Meet, obviously, and so on and so forth. So in terms of configuration, we make sure that all these things are in place before we ship it out. Now, yes, and so I've talked about this briefly where I mentioned that the beneficiaries of these tablets in April were those sports that were selected to partake in the Catalyst Leadership Program. The phase 2 or the 2.0 will happen next year. But even before then, we are making sure that the academy, which gets everybody excited, happening in the next couple of weeks, will be able to provide communities that have not benefited so far with additional resources. Sports, in terms of also making sure that we are using the app or we are using the tablet to the benefit of learners and catalysts. EduSpots supports all sports that have received these resources with quarterly data allowances for participating in monthly challenges and so on and so forth. And then those sports that has Catalyst representing on the Catalyst Leadership Program are giving monthly data allowances to support with the work in the app working group and so on and so forth. So as far as the distribution goes, I know, like Kat said, we are a young organization. We are always in need of funds for ventures like this, but we've done well so far in the 2024. The remainder part of 2024 will be next month, and the months after that in December, during the regional academies, we'll provide the remaining, I think, 16 or 17 or so spots with 2 tablets each, a Wi-Fi kit. Some will receive projectors, some will receive laptops based on need. And so in terms of the hardware for or to show evidence that we are really serious about data tools and it's being integrated with learning, that is how far EduSpot has come. Back to you, Kat.
Great, thank you, Kennedy. And just a shout out again to Kennedy, who has spent many an evening surrounded by digital tools, configuring them. I know Kennedy loves sitting amidst lots of tablets, doing all this complex work late into the night to make all this possible. And this slide just referenced some of the digital training we did at the Catalyst Academy to launch this, which included lots of information on all the aspects that Kennedy mentioned, and also some important information on online safety that was led by Gertrude. So at this point, excited to hand back to Adam, who is currently positioned in Savelagu spot, I believe, where he's in a classroom. Adam, I think the key question we want to learn from you is what has been the impacts that you've seen so far of the digital tools upon your learners or upon Catalyst in Savelagu?
Yeah, hello.
Hi, we can hear you.
Yes. Good afternoon once again. This is Adam from Savolagu. Yes. Based on the impact these digital devices have on our learners, if I'm going to continue mentioning them, I'll mention them till time catches us. In a sense that, like I was saying, digital tools, especially down north here, the moment students see them, excuse me to say that, will make the classroom more engaging, like it is happening now. They used not to be those devices around the compound or in the library. So now, the moment a student enters and you have something, maybe a session, and he sees that you are using a digital device, it gives the student the idea that he has to concentrate to what is coming to happen. In a sense that they have been some students, they have never touched a digital device before. So these digital devices has come or is trying to solve the idea that people normally say that some students normally learn by seeing, some students normally learn by hearing, some students normally learn by touching. With these digital devices in our midst now, these are the three key areas we are now touching on. It makes classroom more engaging nowadays because when you go in with the digital devices, when you say something, you will try to practicalize it, and students will have their hands on so that they can do for themselves and then see what you are talking about. You will not just say this is a mouse and you write mouse on the board and you are pointing this is a mouse. If you say this is a mouse, you will try to show them a picture of the mouse, or this is a monitor, or this is a keyboard. Anything that you have mentioned, you will be able to try to show them pictures of those so that those who might learn by seeing, when they see, they'll be able to know what you are talking about. Also, I will have to say that it also increases student motivation. These days, it look as if one don't go to class with a digital device, as if students believe that you won't be able to tell them or to teach them what they are expecting from you. So, in that fact, you will see that digital devices are playing an important role within this era in which we are now. Because we are in the global system, and then each and every student needs to have a proper intake of what it takes to use digital devices. So, if these devices were not to be there, students would have been lacking behind. But then, now that they are there, I am assuring you that students are seriously cooperating. They are getting what they ever wanted from their teachers and then the sport as a whole.
Great, thank you, Adam. And one thing I found amazing in Sevelegu when I was there last week or the week before was how all the learners in the spot, when they were doing their kind of reading time, they all either had a book or some of them had one of the tablets. It was like there was a kind of choice between the tablet as an educational tool versus the book. And I was curious in that context, how are they using the tablets sort of in their spot time? Sort of, do they use the reading apps? Do they use other apps? What are the most popular uses? You see, not the structured uses in a class. When the students are left alone, what do they use them for?
Yes, in most cases, when they come to the library, some of them would like to read online. They don't normally, some of them, when they are coming to the library, they will make up their mind that I'm coming to read online. So they already have their notes, what the teachers gave them at the classroom. So when they are coming to the spot, when they come, they will now request for the tablet so that they will try to research online to compare with what they have in their books. So if they need to add some to what they already have, so they will do so. And in most cases, most books are stored in the tablet. So some of them normally try to read online those stored books so that they'll be able to equip themselves with wider knowledge about what is happening in the world. Not just in the books, but they can research worldwide to see what is happening. Because they are for sure that there's some Wi-Fi kit and then the tablets are always connected to the internet. So they always request for the tablet when they have something to do with the internet.
Great.
And that is why you saw that most of them were requesting for tablets.
Great. Thank you so much, Adam. I'm going to keep on moving because of time limitations, but we'll come back to some further questions. I can see William has got one coming in that we'll come to shortly, William. But just want to say again a huge kudos to Adam, who I think has been in Sevelegu running the spot for over 5 years, is a very committed teacher, making sure the spaces are open and making the best use of the tablets he possibly can so far. But I think the reason we brought Isaac, our next speaker, into the team is to continue to build upon the foundation that the community catalysts have and make sure that we are all kind of thinking as creatively and strategically as possible about the different uses the digital devices can have and all the range of skills that we need to really enable learners and catalysts to thrive. So at this point, I'll hand over to Isaac, our literacy and digital skills coordinator.
Okay. Hi everyone. I hope you can all hear me clearly. Yeah, so I have a quote on the screen. Yeah, so teaching digital literacy is not just about preparing students for the future. It is about empowering them to shape the future. So what we are trying to say with the digital learning is that we've all heard several times that what we are doing now, technology has come to prepare students for the future. But we can all see that the future we know 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, it's not the same future that we are seeing now. What I'm trying to say is what you think will happen tomorrow might even happen and happen more. So we are not only training our learners to shape, to prepare them for the future, but also to shape the future. Now, I would like to tell a short story. When I was a fellow at Lead for Ghana, the first time I entered into the classroom, I asked my learners what they want to become in future. And there was this learner of mine. After everybody answered the question, I got to this student, one of the brilliant students in the class, who was Albert. So Albert stood up and Albert said he wants to become a bank manager. And I was like, okay, cool, bank manager. And before I could move to the next person, he asked me to stop for a minute. And I said, okay. Then he asked me, what does a bank manager look like? And I was like, okay. So it was a moment of reflection. This person wants to become a bank manager, but doesn't know what a bank manager looks like. And that is the same thing that is happening to the digital world as well. So we all know that the future is here. Everybody's holding a phone, everybody's having a tablet, everybody's having a laptop, but it is not evenly distributed. So from the survey that was carried out by Gertrude that Kat mentioned from the beginning of this session, 2 out of 20 learners know how to turn on a computer. But when you are in Accra, when you're in the urban area, or you're at a place that we all have laptops and phones, you feel like, oh, everybody is using it. Yeah, that's why we are here today, to see how we can introduce this digital learning and tools to other underserved communities as well. So our learners also have access to this. Now, with the digital learning, so the skills of digital literacy that we are looking to build in our learners who would benefit from any of our digital or come in contact with any of our digital learning, the first thing we are looking at is their technical skills. So our learners should be able to find and consume digital content with these digital devices that Kennedy talked about, the laptop, the phones, the tablets. Our learners should be able to use it to find and consume digital content online. And secondly, we want to build or develop their cognitive skills. What do we mean by that? Our learners should be able to reason and create content with these digital devices and tools that we are going to introduce them to. Now, the third one is to build their social skills. Their social skills is very important, so they should be able to share and then communicate in an online environment, have meaningful conversations when they are in a digital environment. Yeah. Okay, so apart from the skills of digital literacy that we want to develop in our learners, there are specific competencies that we also want them to build on. So both our learners and catalysts, we are looking forward that after they come in contact with any of our digital activities, first, they should be able to build their data and information literacy skills. So what I mean by that is our learners and catalysts should be able to search or use Google search engine, any of the search engine, to find information online. They should be able to also store and retrieve this information as well. And they should be able to evaluate this information to make sure that this is not a misinformation or disinformation before they share it. Now, secondly, we want to develop their communication and collaboration skills. what we are doing here right now, we are all on Zoom. This is communication and collaboration. And so this is one thing that we want to ensure that our learners are able to develop. So they are able to use Zoom, Google Meet, WhatsApp call, WhatsApp video call, anytime they want to use it at the right time. Now, the third one is to build their digital content creation. One problem that we face in our communities is we do not have a lot of local content when it comes to digitalization. So we want to ensure that these tools we are going to introduce our learners to be able to use Canva, InShot, CapCut to create local content that we can use in our educational spaces. Now, the fourth one is their digital safety. So Kennedy talked about online safety. Yes, we want to ensure that our learners understand how the internet works. That the internet has its advantages, but it comes with disadvantages as well. That our learners are very, very aware that their information is very expensive and valuable. And so when they are trying to use the internet, they know how to go about sharing information. Now, the final one is problem solving. So we are giving out all of these tools. We are ensuring that they are building all of these competencies so that our learners can use this to solve or identify problems in their communities and solve them. We want our learners to get to a place where they can use any online platform to talk about or advocate for a social issue that is very important to them, to seek for justice, to seek for some kind of community involvement projects to be done in their community using digital devices, creating all of this content, putting it online, and getting people to support them. Yeah.
Sorry, Isaac, do unmute yourself.
Thank you. Okay, so next slide. Great. So our digital training. So we are looking at our plans for future digital training. So first of all, we are looking at organizing quarterly training on any of the digital competencies in collaboration with the communications team and then the regional coordinators to organize a quarterly digital training for Catalyst, for Catalyst and also maybe our learners. Now, secondly, weekly digital spotlight. So this is already going on. Every week we share a digital spotlight, say digital trend, a new tool or a new device, any trend about AI, any news about digital that is happening in the world that we think our Catalyst should know about. We share this on our Spot Lead hub on WhatsApp. Yeah. Now we also want to use get the opportunity to use our sport visits. So just like we did for the Keeping Sports Safe campaign, we also want to get a chance to do like a digital training or digital activities anytime we go on sport visits to ensure that this time we are meeting our learners in person. We realize that most of our listeners training the Catalyst to get it to the learners, but this time as sports visits, we're able to meet these learners and have interactions with them ourselves. So also regional academies. So the regional academies are coming on. I don't know about this one, but next regional academies, we want to get a spot on the regional academy timetable or activity so that we can also have like a digital training activity or education for our Catalyst. Now, when it comes to Staff Academy too, would like to use the Staff Academy as an opportunity to do digital training. Great. So we want to take a look at DigiLit and other strands. So first, we look at DigiLit. So DigiLit is like the main strand for our digitalization activities. Now, why is DigiLit very important? So most of you will know that this sounds very familiar, which was like EduLit, and now it is called DigiLit. DigiLit is very important because this is a combination of literacy and then digital literacy. So I mean, our learners will be able to write, read, and also use digital tools and also speak very well. Now, finally, DigiLit is for upper primary learners, and you know that EduLit was for junior high school, but why are we making DigiLit upper primary? We've come to realize that the earlier you start these learners with a digital tool, the more impact it has on them. Okay, so that's why I said DigiLit is like one of the perfect strand when it comes to digitalization. I mentioned that when you strengthen the learners' literacy skills, it actually impacts their literacy, their digital literacy skills. So for example, just imagine the emergence of generative AI, I mean ChatGPT. For you to be able to get the best out of ChatGPT, you should have a good prompt engineering features. What does that mean? You should be able to ask good questions. Okay, so if our learners are able to ask good questions, they're able to get the best out of generative AI. Now, at this moment, we have about 35 schools that have applied or registered for this DigiLit strand. That means we are going to impact about 70 catalysts and 875 learners in all. Great. So now let's talk about how we can use DigiLit and other strands to promote the digitalization movement. So one is our monthly challenges. So these monthly challenges are fun and educative and informative activities that our learners engage in every month. So the monthly challenge, next. Yeah, so as you can see on the screen, we have like some examples of some monthly challenge. The first one has to do with they using emojis to come up with stories, and emojis comes with digitalization. And also, when our learners use these emojis, it helps to build their content creation skills. And secondly, we can see that we are asking them to use these traditional symbols to come up with a story. The first thing we want them to do is, how are they even going to get these traditional symbols? Is for them to use their information and data literacy skills. So the information and literacy skills is going to help them to search for these traditional symbols online, and then they're able to use them to write their stories. Now, our learners also take pictures of these stories or these drawings of the symbols that they've done and send to us. This is also a content creation skills that we are helping them to develop. So this is a typical example of our learners using digital tools to do their monthly challenge. This is kudos to the EcoSTEM team at Savelugu, who are seriously, as you can see, a lot of engineers and doctors who are seated around a digital device and watching a video of how they would like to go about their monthly challenge. Great. So second one is using our monthly coaching sessions. So these monthly coaching sessions are monthly sessions that we have with our Catalyst, specifically to develop a specific skill in the, that they would like to develop or enhance. So basically, as you can see, some months we're having a monthly coaching session on how they can protect their digital footprint. So we want to ensure that our catalysts are aware of the risks that comes with using these online platforms. And the most important one is they are able to pass this down to our learners. Yeah, so one thing that I realized from this monthly sessions, especially the digital one, is our Catalyst shared how important these sessions were, because most of them have no idea about some of the challenges that comes with using online platform. They feel like, oh, it's an online platform, we are all using it. Facebook, Instagram, everybody is just using it. No, but it's very important that you know how the internet works, and very important too that they know that the internet is a tool that is supposed to be used in such a way that anything you put there cannot be erased. It is permanent. Anything you put on the internet today is very, very permanent. So we use these monthly coaching sessions to inform them. Now, we also use our WhatsApp feed engagement to ensure that our learners and our catalysts are always updated on digital trends, as mentioned before. So you can see that we have some feed engagement on Google search engines, which is very, very important because most people feel like, oh, Google has been in the system for a while now. It's just about typing google.com and searching for whatever you have to search. But that is not it. There is a right way and an appropriate way to use Google search to get the right information. So we make sure that our catalysts are aware of this. We do feed engagement on the emergence of AI, where our catalysts share their opinions on whether AI is coming to take their jobs or is going to create new jobs, or they are going to dominate AI and all of that. We also have sessions on Google Lens, which is one of the most powerful software when it comes to Google. So we took our catalyst through how they can use this lens to extract text, how they can use to identify when you are missing. You can use Google Lens to identify where you are standing at that moment and all of that. Now, and also you can see feed engagement on the dark and light mode. We use our feed engagement to share with our catalysts the importance of using the light and dark mode on our phones, our tablets, and then our laptops as well. So this is how we use our WhatsApp feed to improve or to develop the digital skills of our catalysts.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Isaac. And I can say that I've definitely been learning so much from Digital Spotlight every week and learning all sorts of uses of digital tools I never knew before. So I'm really excited. I think we all are, about the impact of the strategy you've developed across the whole network in the years to come. So the final bit of our digitalization is a bit of a mouthful work is the EduSpots app. So there's not time for a very detailed run through of the app, but I just want to explain some of the rationale behind developing an EduSpots app, and of course some learnings we've had in the process. So I think the initial and primary use of the app was the kind of reason for its existence was that in our context, it's been very difficult to create effective systems for the spots to run their own systems for collecting data, for authorizing Catalyst registration, and for ensuring that learners are registered effectively with parental permission, all these kind of nuts and bolts behind running spots that are so important to their effective functioning in an organized way, and that also give us the information we need centrally as a staff team to make sure that we're providing the right resources, mentorship, training, and connecting to make the spots truly thrive. So the kind of initial function of the app as we first developed it, and it's going through a trial phase currently on a sort of limited functionality, was to have a series of functions that enable spots to basically, every time the spot is opened, that they click the spot is opened. Every time a catalyst is doing something at the spot, that they say through the app kind of live when they've signed in and when they've signed out. And the same with the learners, that every learner in Catalyst is registered locally through the app. So every catalyst, before they're enabled to become an official catalyst, have to have certain background checks done and have to go through the formal registration and safeguarding training with the central and the local team. So all of this enables us to have a clear system for basically having live information from the spots about what's going on. So the idea is every single time a learner enters the spot, that there is some information given about what they're doing. There's a function for book borrowing. There's a function for local grants and how they're spent. And there are loads more functions to come that I'll talk about in a minute. But I thought I'd give you a quick glimpse inside the app, hoping this works smoothly. Yeah, well, we can just dive into one particular spots page. And I think we've been talking a lot about Saveligu spots today. So I brought Saveligu up. So you can get a sense of the app sort of functions currently. You can see this sort of overview of the spots, that they sort of have registers for each club and have some details on when the activities are taking place. all the learners are registered here with a parental phone call ahead of them being approved into this list. You can see this currently just has Adam listed as a catalyst. I think all the spots are at different sort of stages of progress with the app, but we're very keen to make this completely network-wide and a core part of our functioning by the end of December. And we're using the regional academies as a core that are upcoming in the next 2 months as a core way to consolidate use of the app. Second, aside from the kind of core, I guess, information tracking and systems creation that the app provides, we're also really keen that the app improves our systems for programs leadership to make sure that we're really giving the Catalyst the support they need in terms of resources. So I've got a bit lost here. There we go. So the second kind of core functionality is around our program delivery. So at the moment, we're sending all the monthly challenges by WhatsApp, and the communities have to give certain deliverables that we give feedback on. And all of this is happening over WhatsApp, involving huge numbers of files for each coordinator and storing them online. And it's just very time consuming. So the idea is, you can see on the right, this function isn't yet out there, but coming in the next version, that every strand coordinator will be putting up their challenge online in different stages, and then the community will submit online via the app, get their feedback, and then the app is going to have an amazing automatically collected leadership board based on the marking criteria in our point system, and then even automatically generate certificates. So I think this is a great example of how technology can be used to really cut human resource time that can be better spent on thinking of creative challenges and giving the mentorship that's needed. So we're very excited about this getting into flow. And then the kind of final aspect that we'll be building on, which I hope is exciting for the Catalyst, as this will be primarily working with Catalyst as the key user in the first instance. We might develop it later towards learners, parents, wider community members. But we really wanted to create, I think the best way of putting it is a Facebook for community educators. So eventually every Catalyst will have their own profile page. Every activity they do at the spot, they'll be able to upload some details. When they complete a program and get a certificate, that will all come up on their equivalent of, their LinkedIn or Facebook equivalent. And they'll also be able to look up each other's profiles and learn more about the amazing interests and aspirations of our network of 400 Catalysts. And we hope that this will really cement the relationships between our network and continue to give Catalyst that sense of identity as an EduSpots Catalyst. So I'm sure we'll be sharing more on the app as it develops further. And I want to say a huge thank you to the app developers who've supported us with this, and Kennedy for all his work alongside Lawrence. So at this point, we're very happy. I know we're running short of time, but we're very happy to receive any questions from the room. You can either put your hands up. I think there's one from William I said I'd come back to. How do the students continue learning at home since the tablets are only available in the library? Isaac, do you want to take that one? Any reflections you have?
Well, Kat, I can take that. So the initial thoughts is that, first of all, William, there are two types of sports we have at EduSpots. So some are community-based sports, meaning that they open the library after school hours, and like Elmina, and learners go there to sort of like experience it. And then we have the typical school-based sport where it is open, during school hours. But even for those, we are advocating for further community involvement where those spots are open beyond the school hours. It's totally up to the spot to make that happen.
Great. Isaac, do you have anything to add perhaps on how some of the learnings at the spot might be taken into the home context on smartphones or similar?
Oh, okay. So yeah, so just like Kennedy mentioned, I would just add a little bit to Kennedy, then I move to digital learning. Yeah, so I remember what's the name? The other time I was having a conversation with the Catalyst at Yamfo, and he mentioned that after they received some grants to renovate their sport, they now have lighting system and everything. So now learners are able to use the school sport after school, and we were speaking around 8 p.m. He said learners were there learning and also using the tablet as well. Yeah, so that is how they can use it after school. Now, secondly, one thing is we involving parents in this digitalization process. So making sure that parents are aware of. So I mentioned that the online safety of our learners are very important. But if we're able to get parents also involved and they understand that this is how learners can be safe using the tools, we can also, parents are able to allow their learners or their children to use their digital devices like a tablet or a laptop for some of the challenges that we give to them as individual challenge to take home. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Isaac. And I know that we're planning an International Day of Play sort of network-wide events involving parents across the EduKids and DigiLit strand, where we hope to engage parents much further in how they can use digital tools and wider low-resource tools in their community to support their children's learning. Any other questions from the group before I think we can jump on to reflecting as a team on some learnings we have? Does anyone want to take the chance to ask this amazing team any further probing questions? So I'll dive into some questions around learning. So I'll say this whole process from my perspective has been a big learning curve, that we've launched this whole strategy amidst, it's important to say, also launching a leadership program for the first time, and also launching the Ignite Academies, relaunching them this month, which is significant work involving over 400 Catalysts being trained in 6 3-day academies and an online academy. So it's important to say that this digitalization work in EduSpots is very much alongside loads of different things. You've heard about early years, you've heard about STEM, you've heard about leadership, you've heard about gender equity. So we really want to make sure as we move forward that it's very integrated in what we do, which has meant it can be challenging at times to make sure the whole team are fully involved in everything. It's very much a team-wide project. As brilliant as Kennedy and Isaac are, they can't do all this work alone, as they've got to roll this out through multiple staff members. I have some learnings of my own, but I thought I would go to Kennedy first. What learnings have you had from your sort of side of your involvement in the digitalization process? If you were going to do this again, which thankfully we're not going to do, although we are to an extent, what would you do, or what advice would you give to other organizations in our position?
First of all, I think I have to pat, the whole network. I have to pat all of us back. The fact that the digital tools and how we looked at it is, at first instance, it's multifaceted in that it is not just tablet we are looking at. We are looking at integrating the use of projectors, encouraging the use of computers, encouraging the use of tablet, all at a go, and launching it and making sure that it's available. And so that is good. If there is something I will do differently, it will be that as much as possible, I will get parents also involved right from the get-go. So Catalysts are doing their bit, EduSpots staff are doing their bit. I'm sure learners enjoy it, but then just like William is asking, to what extent, when they go home, the learners, to what extent are we consciously, because we are community-led, isn't it? Which includes parents, guardians, everybody. So to what extent we shouldn't leave parents behind. And I don't think we are leaving them behind. It's just at what point should we involve them? That's the question. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Kennedy. And yeah, William, it's a great question, and something that I think Isaac can build into that parental engagement that's planned, that could touch on some digital safety type issues. Isaac, I guess a lot of your work is still to be rolled out, but any learnings you've had from the process so far?
Sure. So I think my first learning was it has to do with the DigiLit strand as a whole. I've been doing a lot of, before EduSpots, I've had a lot of thinking about digital, but the DigiLit strand just changed the whole perspective. So I mentioned that for us to develop the digital literacy levels of our learners or children, we need to first strengthen their literacy skills. And that is one thing that the DigiLit strand made me reflect on a lot. It's a learning that has become very, very important to me, that for us to roll out you want to develop any digital skills anywhere, if that learner is not good, literally, it is really not going to be effective. Yeah. And secondly, I also realized that the level of digital skills of the learner is not really influenced by access. So access, I mean by that, it's not influenced by the number of devices that they have. So at first I was thinking that all the learners were supposed to have devices to make this very, very effective. Yes, that is very good. But I also realized that the most important thing is the usage. So it is very important that even if they have 2, 4, or 3 tablets, they make use of it very, very well. That is going to improve their digital learning as compared to they having all the tools, and then it is just because we visited places that they have computer lab, they are computers, but the moment you enter, you see cobwebs and everything that they've not turned it on before. The only time they even turn it on is just to see if it is still working. Yeah, so I reflected on that and realized that the digital skills level of learners is not influenced mainly by access, but by the usage. And finally, the monthly coaching also gave me some kind of reflection. So I also realized that the use of the digital tools or devices by teachers or Catalyst is positively correlated with the digital learning skills of our learners. So what I mean is that if the Catalyst is not really good, or the digital literacy level of a Catalyst is not up to some level, there's no way that student under or the learners under that Catalyst would be good in using this digital devices. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Isaac. You can see reflection is very core to how all of us work in EduSpots. And I think just touching on what you said there, it's so important that any organization looking to roll out digital tools has an education strategy at the heart of what they're doing. Because as Isaac said, if the Catalysts don't know how to use them, or the communities are not behind or involved in the plan, then it's very difficult to make any of the tools go to effective use. I think my short learning of many has been that if you're rolling out an app in particular, to make sure that you have enough time to dedicate to having meetings with developers, as it does take quite a lot of time. And because it's quite cross-organizational, and once it's done, you don't want to change it again. And like other work that's quite easy to change, it's important that you have time as a team to really think through how you want the app to work and function. As I felt, quite a lot was undependent on my time being available. So I would probably be a better delegator in future. Adam, I don't want to leave you out from this reflection. I guess maybe a slightly different question to you. Like, what is your hope for the digital future of Savelagu?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Adam, we can hear you.
Yes, my hope digital future for Savology is that I have the feeling that just in the near future, students in Savology should be able to pick a digital device and be able to work with it whatsoever they want to do with it, be it Canva, or they should be able to use it to prepare either reading notes or presentation. So they should be able to prepare things, be able to connect it to projector and do presentations by themselves without assistance from any other person.
Brilliant, Adam. That's a great reflection to end on, as I can see you're immediately focusing on the usage of the apps and these empowered digitally literate students, which is such an important note to end on that echoes so much of what Kennedy and Isaac have touched upon. So the final thing to mention, I guess, of course, you must all be extremely compelled by EduSpots' work by now. And you can clearly see that we can't do any of this incredible work supporting Catalysts like Adam and Savelagu and 400 others in our network without getting more digital devices to them. But at the moment, the reality is that so many Catalysts and learners are all crowded around one device. They're going to have 2 per spot, and we'd really love to extend that to 5. As I'm sure you'll see, it's very difficult for kids to get hands-on education in using digital tools if they're not kind of at least in a group of 3 or having some time alone with the tablet due to the need to themselves get to grips with how it's used. So we're very excited that we've gained £8,000 of match funding in this year's Big Give campaign, which is at Christmas, from the 3rd of December on a Tuesday to the 10th of December on a Tuesday. And it's amazing that during this period, all money given through the Big Give link to EduSpots is doubled. So for example, if you were to donate £25, that goes to £50, which can fund one Wi-Fi kit. If you donate £75, that goes to £150, which gets a device to a community, and 250 goes to 500, which will enable us to get a laptop and hopefully a projector. And all of this, as you've seen in EduSpots, it comes with a wraparound educational training. So unlike other charities might be doing, we're not just giving the tablets and then walking off. All of this has a huge amount of support around it to ensure that Catalysts are really using these to the best effect and really engaging the learners in digital skills as well. And finally, I guess you might be thinking about how you can get behind EduSpots work more broadly if you're particularly curious about what we do. So we've already mentioned the Big Give campaign, but you can engage in our events. If you follow our social feeds, you'll see lots of different events such as Ignite Talks and Catalyze Leadership Talks ongoing, some of which I'm sure will be, on the topic of digital skills. Sorry, you can also subscribe to our newsletter. And I think there might be some links coming in the chat right now from Frida, our head of communications. And you are always most welcome to reshare, or engage with our content on social media. That helps it get lifted and get a higher profile with people that may support us. And we also just love sharing the stories that come directly from our catalysts. And we also have a feed called the EduChamps community that you can sign up for, where you can get regular sort of insights into how we work at EduSpots, alongside accessing articles on international development and education and some of our pedagogical thinking. So in EduSpots, although we only work with 400 catalysts, although that's quite a lot, we often have people saying, how can we get involved? So we always want to welcome people into exploring our unique community-based model of this sort of future-facing education, which has digital skills at its heart. So I want to close by just thanking everybody for their time today. I think we're past time for further questions. So please do continue to support our work, and a huge kudos once again to the whole team and the whole network for getting behind this important drive for greater digital equity.